Welcome to FootballGameplan.com, where football makes sense. I'm Emery Hunt, the czar of the playbook, bring you our Arena Football League preview show. We're going to go around and take a look at every game on the schedule this week in the Arena Football League. But first, let's start off out west, where we have a rematch of last year's Arena Bowl between the Arizona Rattlers and the Philadelphia Soul.
Arena Bowl rematch in Week 1 as the Soul traveled to the desert to take on the Rattlers. And offensively for the Soul, the three key components to last year's Arena Bowl run return. That's fullback Derek Ross, wide receiver Tiger Jones, who had over 2,000 yards in 3 consecutive 2,000-yard seasons, and quarterback Dan Rauderbaugh, who put together his best season as a pro. Armed with an improved offensive line and the signing of Jason Holman, the Soul's offense should pick up right where they left off last season. Defensively, they made a living getting to the quarterback, led by defensive end Brian Robinson, who had a team-leading 11 sacks and 17.5 TFLs. Joining him this season will be free agent signee Parnell Phillips, who racked up 6 sacks last year for the Tampa Bay Storm. And if you're able to get pressure on the quarterback, you'll do just fine in an Arena Football League. The Rattlers are the two-time reigning Arena Bowl champions, and quarterback Nick Dabla is back after throwing for over 4,800 yards and 110 touchdowns last season. The talent at receiver returns intact, as well as Rod Windsor and Maurice Purify lead the way, but keep an eye on Tyson Poots this year, as he could emerge as one of the AFL's best. The offensive line was a legit question mark last season despite the monster numbers, and the Rattlers addressed that position in the offseason with the signing of Jeff Maddox and Finucci Tupau. Defensively, Arizona had the best secondary in the league last year with an AFL leading 17 interceptions, and this year they're going to lose a key piece in the secondary with first-team All-Arena defensive back Virgil Gray, but they were able to sign veteran Vic Hall, an outstanding defensive back from the Chicago Rush, to line up next to Marquise Floyd and Arkeith Brown. And I also want you to keep an eye on defensive end Quinn Pittick, who's looking to be the breakout pass rusher that this defense sorely needs. Now here are some coaching points for both teams in this ball game. For the Soul, the receivers must sacrifice for passes. We saw in the Arena Bowl back in August that the receivers of the Soul left big plays out on the field because they didn't lay out for passes. That type of total sacrifice could be the difference between winning and losing, and they have to keep their foot on the gas defensively. Now with the addition of Parnell Phillips to go opposite of Brian Robinson, there shouldn't be any reason not to keep the downward pressure going all game long. And you want to shrink the ball game. The Soul have one of the best assets in arena football, and that's the ability to run the football with Derek Ross, their fullback. Just another way of playing defense by playing ball control offense. Now let's move over to Arizona in this ball game. The first point is an important one. You want to take fullback Derek Ross out of the equation. The Soul love to use him in short yardage and goal line situations, and it could be huge to take away those precious possessions of the Soul. You want to continue to stay active in the secondary. We saw how active the Rattlers were in the Arena Bowl. They were physical and aggressive on the corners, and it definitely played a big part in their success. And their rebuilt offensive line must gel quickly and keep Dabla well protected in the pocket, especially going against one of the top pass rushing teams in the Arena Football League. I like Arizona in this ball game. This is still a very talented team on both sides of the ball. They didn't lose much in the offseason. They actually got better by increasing the talent along that offensive line. This offense will be able to put up points once again like it did last season. And defensively, they're still stout in the secondary, so I think they take care of business at home versus Philadelphia. First up, we have the Voodoo traveling to Tampa to take on the Storm, and the biggest question for the Voodoo this season is, can they replace all-arena wide receiver Donovan Morgan? Free agent Skylar Green will get his shot to be Kurt Rocco's #1 option at that position. And as for Tampa Bay, they lose quarterback Adrian McPherson, who had a sensational year last season for the Storm, and they hope to strike lightning in a bottle twice with rookie Steven Garcia playing the QB position. The Storm are solid in the secondary, but still questionable in getting to the quarterback. I like Rocco and the Voodoo in this one. The Cleveland Gladiators take on the Pittsburgh Power in a very good Week 1 matchup, and despite their 4-14 record last season, the Gladiators are a very talented bunch. Offensively, turnovers and poor red zone efficiency is what killed them, as well as a porous defense. They stockpile talent on that side of the ball, led by defensive back Dominic Jones, in hopes to avoid the same fate in 2014. Now, the Power had a very good offseason and, in my opinion, are one of the sleeper teams that can go all the way this year. Signing quarterback Ty McGrady was a huge pickup as he's one of the best quarterbacks in the game, and they brought in 2 top targets at wide receiver in Aaron Lassou, who played with Grady out there in Utah, and Preshay Rodriguez coming over from Orlando. The defensive addition of Virgil Gray coming over from Arizona will be a big-time addition to that defense. I think he'll play a huge role in this ball game. I like the Power to come away victorious. While the Los Angeles Kiss uniform is garnering most of the headlines, their roster should be, as the expansion team has stockpiled an impressive roster led by wide receiver Donovan Morgan coming over from New Orleans. Now, quarterback J.J. Redick will be well protected behind a veteran offensive line, and defensively, I want you to keep an eye on middle linebacker Bo Bell, who comes over from Spokane and is a monster on the inside. Now, the Talons are strong on both sides of the line of scrimmage and may boast one of the best offensive line units in the Arena Football League, led by guard Shannon Tavega. They were also one of the best defensively last season at every level, and the question this year is at the quarterback position with Mitch Mustang taking over. Can he be the guy? We shall see, but I like the Kiss to get their first ever victory in franchise history on the road versus San Antonio. There's a lot to like about the Iowa Barnstormers this season. Very solid on both sides of the ball, and although they lose J.J. Redick, they signed Carson Kaufman of the Chicago Rush, who's a very capable starter in this league. Now, defensively, Mike Lewis is the heart and soul of that unit and will like nothing more than the offense to start to cash in more in the red zone this year. Now, the Shock were one game away from the Arena Bowl last season and made great additions in the offseason to increase their chances of going all the way in 2014. Quarterback Eric Mayer should have been the MVP in my opinion last year after throwing 112 touchdowns and completing 68% of his passes. I want you to keep an eye on defensive back Jimmy Williams, who played at Virginia Tech. He's 6'2" and has that size that you want in the secondary. And while the Barnstormers will be game defensively, I like the Shock to get the win at home. The Jacksonville Sharks were one of the better teams last season, and as they take on the Orlando Predators, the receiving core will once again be a team strength with Jerron Harvey and free agent signee Marty Gilliard, giving future Hall of Fame quarterback Aaron Garcia 2 excellent options on the outside. Now, defensively, they were second in pass defense, mainly because of defensive back Terrence Smith, who had 11 interceptions last year. Now, the Predators lost a lot in the offseason, and they're in full rebuild mode, but wide receiver T.T. Tolliver should be able to put up the type of numbers this year like he did in 2013 with the addition of quarterback Bernard Morris, who's coming over from Jacksonville. It's going to be a constant uphill battle for the Predators unless they're able to gel pretty quick. I like Jacksonville in this one. And finally, we have the San Jose Sabercats taking on the Portland Thunder out there in Portland, Oregon. And when you talk Sabercats football, you start with the defense side of the ball. Defensive back Clevin Thomas, who was the Defensive Player of the Year last season with 15 interceptions, 6 of which were brought back for touchdowns, will now be joined by Simeon Castile, who's one of the best defensive backs in the game. Offensively, the free agent signing of big play Reggie Gray from Chicago to go along with Jason Willis will once again keep their offense dynamic. Now, the second expansion team, the Portland Shockwave, will have an influx of talented transplants from across the league, but 2 rookies will steal the show in my opinion. That's quarterback Darren Thomas and defensive end Dante Page-Moss. I like what they've added on the offensive line as well with Max Jean Gillis, and when you look at Portland, they will start to send shockwaves as the season progresses, but not in week 1, as I like San Jose to come away victorious.